Hello and welcome back. So we have our situation working down here just fine. The only problem is our code is too much. So we have repeated code here. Quite alright, this is for page 1, this is for page 2, and this is for page 3. But we can do better than this because the code looks exactly the same. So whenever code looks exactly the same, it calls for a loop of some kind. So let's see how we can create a loop here. So go down here where it says page 1 and then add a loop. So first of all, I'm just going to say carousel. Where is that word again? Pages count. So the pages count is equal to, so how many pages do we want? I want pages count is equal to 3. So let's do a for each loop here, not a for each, but just a for loop. And this one is, yeah, I think that should do just fine. And then I'm just going to get this one and put it here and do a -1. That's going to be 0 to 2, which is going to put 3 pages, because if I just put 3 here, it's going to be 4 pages because the count starts at 0. Okay, so now that we have this, I can move my bottom cursor down here. And let's squeeze everything inside like so. Okay, very good. Now, obviously, we will not need this last 2 here because the queries, everything else is exactly the same. Now, if you want to run different queries depending on the number of pages or the page number, you can add some if statements to check what page number you are on and then alter the query accordingly. But in our case, we are running exactly the same query, so this is not a problem. So carousel posts, I will not mention the page since things have changed. So as you can see here, the only change we had was the 1 here, or the 2, or the 3, and so on. So instead, what we're going to do is add I at the very end here. So I'm just going to select all of this and then move over to the side and then do that, put I and close the bracket. Then let me move this to, oh, it's actually part of the loop, so that's okay. So data slider rows, so I don't need this here. Now data slider rows, and then I will put open and close bracket like that, so that it adds to this is equal to this. Actually, I made a mistake here. Let me select all the I's and put a $sign, of course, I missed that. $I, like so. Okay, so here $I is equal to all that, the same. We come to this. Okay, looks legit. I think that reduces the code by quite a bit. So I will put this at the top here so that it knows that we are starting from there, like so. So we create our own posts, then we do the same thing for these guys, and that should work, unless otherwise. Now, if I go back and refresh my page, I shouldn't get any posts here, but I shouldn't get any errors either. So refresh, and no posts, no errors means things went well. So let's see how we can go now to the index page and sort this out. So I'm going to go down to where our carousel starts. That's quite at the bottom. So down right here, so instead of asking if if it's set that one here, yeah, so what I will do is I'm going to delete the others. So this div item here, because the only difference is item, this one has active at the top, but otherwise they're exactly the same. So I'll delete that, and then I'll delete this one as well. So I'm remaining with one page, but I want to loop through the whole thing to make a couple of more pages. So let me pull this inside so we can clearly see it's inside this. And then we can do the looping right there. So here, no need to ask if any of this is set. So let's move the is set outside here for a second. And let's move the end if likewise after the div. Okay, let's move everything over. Very good. Save. So now what we're looking for is just the slider rows without the one at the very end. So if that is set, then we're going to do a for each loop. Now we're going to have two loops here. So the first for each will loop through the items in there, and the second one will loop through the number of slider rows here. So I'll put this here, copy and for each, put it there, push everything over like so. So for each slider rows without the one, like that. And then instead of a row like that, I'm going to copy these slider rows and just say slider row, like so. Okay, so once that happens, then we have this. And then through that, we have, what happens here? We want to loop through this. Okay, great. So let's remove that one there. Okay, seems like it should work actually. So I'm going to refresh. And there we go. We have problems. So attempt to read property price on an array. Where is that problem? Okay. All right, so at this point, it's supposed to be something we're missing here. Oh, there we go. So remove that S here. Yeah, I think that's what was the problem. So let's refresh. Okay, looking great, isn't it? The problem is now we can't go through these guys. Let's see what's happening. So I'm going to inspect this element, inspect, and let's see here. That's the one, that's the one. What I'm looking for is this div active right there. So let me close that. And then there's a second one, right? But there are only two. We needed three of these. So let me come back to the home and maybe remove. Starts at 0, 0, 1, 2. It should actually work. Anyway, I don't know why that isn't happening. So let me remove that -1 there and see what changes we get. So if I refresh and inspect the element again, I want to close that active. So now I get 3 of them. I have no idea why that is working like that, but hey, so long it's working, it's working. All right, so we have this, we have that. So the only problem now is we can't move through one of these at a time. They're all showing at the same time. So if I click here, nothing happens, of course, because they're all showing one here, one there, and maybe the other one is on top of the other. I have no idea. So what we need in the code, let's go back to index.php here. What we need is to remove this active here. So let's remove that active for a second, refresh. Now we have nothing. Okay, great. So what we want is to just show the active on the very first item and not the rest. So throughout this loop right here. So let's put this one here. We're going to say num is equal to 0. And then right in here, we'll do num plus plus. So this is just laziness, of course. I should have added this on a separate line, but this is inside this if statement. And this is inside this loop. So it just adds to num every time we go through the loop. So all I need to check for is if num is equal to 1, and then we can set the active. So let's just put some PHP tags, equal sign like so, and then just check num equal to 1 question mark. Is it? And then if it is, then we're just going to add active like so, put a full colon, and then if it's not, we'll add single quotes there, close that up. Let me put that semicolon there to avoid confusing the compiler, and I could put some brackets here to avoid confusing yourself the next time you come to read the code. Refresh. Okay, now we have at least one page. Let me click here. We have a second page. Click again. Third page, fourth page. 1, 2, 3, 1. Okay, so things are working out now. The code is much better because we only have one line here, one block of code. The same thing we have here, one block of code instead of multiple blocks. Alright, so I will see you in the next video where we actually fix this top part right here